All right, everybody, welcome to this week's installment of Life Coaching Training here at coachinghangout.com. If you are at the event, I have posted the link to be able to come in and join us, so please do. We've got a few folks already in, and I'm sure we'll have a few more that will appear as time goes on, because that's how it works. I am Sean Adams. I'm kind of the founder of this thing called Coaching Hangout, or these life coaching training hangouts that we've been doing for well over a year. It's got to be almost a year and a half by now. We've got one folk who's been with us pretty much. I think she might have even been on the very first hangout. So she is definitely a long-termer. And then we've got two folks who are new to this hangout, one person who is not new to hangouts. But we do have one brand new person to hangouts as well. So this should be a pretty interesting day. And we don't have a topic for today. Today is the Q&A day that we're going to be just opening it up to anybody who has any questions about coaching, how to be a better coach, how to be better at being coached, whatever it might be that people want to know. That's what we're here about today, to talk about and to answer questions of. So that being said, I'm going to let each of the people that are in the Hangout at the moment go ahead and introduce themselves. I'm going to actually just go in the order you guys came in, but I'm going to start then with Wendy. Wendy, if you want to say hello to everybody and give a quick introduction.
Hi, yes, I am Wendy from Melbourne, Australia. I am the director of a business school. It's a traditional yet quite funky business school. We consider ourselves to be a Nike, a Disney, and a Harvard all rolled into one. And we prepare young professionals for important leadership positions tomorrow. And I love working in this space. And nice to be here today.
Well, glad to have you here, Wendy. Thanks. Are you going to throw up a lower third while we move on to the other folks?
I'll do that now.
Excellent, thank you. And then, so Greg, what we do is we just have folks introduce themselves, tell us who you are, where you're from, and what is it that you do. If you want to mention a website or a business name, that's great. I'm always happy to kind of let people publicize themselves. So you're up next. Go ahead, and why don't you say hello to the world, Greg?
Great, thanks, Sean. I'm Greg from Johannesburg in South Africa. I manage and construct mutual fund portfolios for clients. I personally have also been very interested in the stock market, and I invest in the stock market. And one of my passions, and I want to learn more about it, is running internet businesses to generate passive income. And that's why I'm here, a long route from MMI to get here. And I'm here to learn as much as I can. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, we're glad to have you here, Greg. Greg is he came to us through connections through Alex Mendozian, and I run these hangouts sort of separate from Alex's world, but I invite the folks in because usually what we're talking about is beneficial to them. So just to give that framework of the MMI path that it came through, he's actually in a program with Alex, and I'm Alex's online business manager, but that's where that connection came through. Just so to be clear for everybody. Alicia, I know you're not new to the Hangout world. Do you want to go ahead and unmute and say hello to everybody?
Hello, Sean, and hello to everybody. My name is Alicia. I'm also from Johannesburg. I'm a business analyst in the corporate world. I'm also a craniosacral therapist, and I'm trying to merge the two worlds by actually teaching business analysts more soft skills and how to actually interact with their stakeholders. So from my perspective, I also want to take the work that I do in the corporate world to the small businesses and give them the tools to actually make their businesses more productive and make more money.
Excellent. I love it. Thanks. It's fun to listen to you because each time I see you on a Hangout, your elevator speech, your explanation of who you are and what you do gets better defined each time, so you're doing great with that. So we're glad to have you here. We have another one of our, I think may have been here from the very beginning as well, Hanger Outerers, Mr. Robert. Are you ready to say hello to the world? Looks like he's still taking care of. There he is.
I am. I was trying to lower third here, but I can multitask and introduce myself. Hi, everyone. Robert McPhee from San Diego, California, which just happens to be on fire today. And I don't mean that like in a Joe Vitale, on fire, motivated kind of way. I mean like literally on fire. I just got back from a run where I couldn't continue to run because the air is getting all smoky outside. The fire's that close. So, but I am a very loyal and I think from pretty much the beginning attendee of this fabulous hangout and a good friend and cohort and collaborator with Sean. So always thrilled to be here and good to see some new faces. Hi, everyone.
Well, we're glad to have you here, Robert. I appreciate that you always are here with us every week. You always have some great insights to share with us. So this is what we do. Every week we come together at this time and we talk about coaching. Sometimes we have a topic. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes it's an open free-for-all like today will be, where anyone just gets to bring up any topic they want. And it's not me as the wise guru who has all the information. I just facilitate a conversation amongst everybody who's in the hangout so that we are getting great information from folks. We're sharing good information. Everyone's contributing. Everybody gets to be part of it, which is why I love to have people come into the hangouts. This isn't a I give you information kind of hangout. This is a let's discuss a topic and see what information we can get from that topic. And today it's just an open Q&A, which sometimes have turned into some of our favorite. We do this at least once a month, and they turn into some pretty amazing stuff. So I'm just going to throw it out there. Anybody who might have a question, something they're curious about, if they want to know more about coaching, how to be a better coach, how to be better at being coached. Even if you have a question about technology, the use of Hangouts, things like that, I'm happy to talk about that. We usually bring it all back into the theme of coaching eventually, but I'm also open to have it just be an open conversation today about whatever is on people's minds. So if anyone's got a question, feel free to go ahead and start with your question.
I just had something that popped into my head then, if that's okay. It's around a marketing strategy of offering one freebie coaching session to get to know them and for them to get to know you, and from there to encourage them to sign up for your package and to do paid coaching. So I've done that once or twice now, and I haven't, and the people have been, they've loved the coaching session, they've got a lot out of it, but I haven't been able to then convert them to actually then signing up. So if anyone has any tips or ideas, and I've got a script that I got from one of Alex's friends, but it still didn't work for me. So yeah, if anyone has got any tips around that, how to then totally convert them after providing the freebie, or whether you even think a freebie is a good idea, because another one of my colleagues said, well, maybe you shouldn't give freebies because you set them up with a certain pattern to expect something for nothing, and all of a sudden then you want them to pay you. So is that a consistent message? So yeah, I'm just wondering what people's thoughts are on all of that.
Well, my first question is are you doing any, we talked about this the last few weeks, are you doing any kind of pre-qualification of these folks before they get the opportunity to do a consultation with you? Or at least some form of intake, something that you're getting good information about them going in so that you're able to deliver the most value you can during that I wouldn't call it a freebie session. I like to call it either a consultation or something along those lines. But are you doing some kind of pre-qualification?
Yes, the couple of people that I mentioned came off GBI in Perth. So I got to know them over the week when I was crewing for Alex. So I got to know them and their businesses and their goals. And they were the ones that sought me out originally and said, you know, it'd be great to work with you as a coach. But then when it came, it could be that the reasons they gave was that they'd spent so much money signing up for Alex's programs that then they didn't have anything left. And that could be an absolutely legitimate thing, and I don't begrudge that at all. Or it could be another reason I'm just not as sharp and as experienced as selling the benefits as, say, an Alex would or someone else. Well, so yeah, in answer to your question, yes. I knew a lot about them, and I had pre-qualified them before I invited them to have that freebie session.
Well, so I learned this from listening to a Success Magazine CD the other day, and it's something I've heard before, but it's stuck in my head, and it seems relevant to what we're talking about here. And there is an aspect of you have to have the right message to the right customer at the right time. And so what might be is that third piece might be what's missing. That right now they've dedicated their education, their knowledge, their learning to something else they've already committed their energy, time, and money to. And so therefore you may not be necessarily, it may not be the right time. My recommendation is I never see that as an unsuccessful close. I just see that as a close that didn't happen yet. And so if you can develop some kind of a nurture sequence, some kind of a interaction with them, even if it's just, I'm going to send you an email once a month with some great information I've got to help your business, where you're giving them freebies, you're giving them benefits, so they're learning a lot, they're seeing you as valuable, they see you as an expert, and then eventually, when they are either done with the other program they're in, or more money frees up, or whatever it might be, you've been in front of them long enough that it's finally going to stick with them. There is research that a lot of people will not buy something unless it's been in front of, it's crossed their view at least 7 times. It's the reason why they say that if you're calling somebody, you don't stop calling after 1 or 2. You've got to make those 7 contacts, because it's that 7th contact that really is that turning point to converting somebody over. And it doesn't mean that they're always sales. It doesn't mean that they're always trying to turn them into a client. It could just be saying, hey, we talked a month ago. I thought I'd call. I'd see how your business is doing. If you have anything you need, I just, I've got 10 minutes. I thought I'd check in and just continuously be in front of them. So when they are ready to say, you know what, I really do need that hands-on coach, the first thing they're going to think of, the first person they're going to think of is you.
Yeah, that's great. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Yeah.
And Robert, you posted in chat about the 5 gates. Do you want to explain what that is?
No, I just want to confuse people. No, no, I do want to explain what that is, and I typed it into the chat window because I figured it would help kind of understand. And I could totally relate. I was laughing. I was on mute. You couldn't hear me, but I was laughing when Wendy asked her question, because I was going to ask the same question. And I'm trying to make some decisions about offering free sessions as part of my marketing strategy. And there's something about it that I just don't really like. I don't know, there's something that doesn't work. And I love what you said about pre-qualifying. I also heard something just yesterday that I really liked, which is don't call it a free coaching session. Call it something different. I talked to a coach who was calling her free session a vision conversation. So it kind of delineated from, I will offer to have a vision conversation with you, but I won't offer you free coaching. It just differentiates it, which I really liked. And then the other thing that came to mind, and I think I know Wendy well enough that she and I are very much alike in this, like, over-deliver idea, where if you give a free coaching session and you give so much value that they're kind of overwhelmed and they've got so much to work with to get them moving forward, arguably they don't really need more coaching. And that's where I put in the 5 gates, which is a sales strategy that my friend Tiffany Peterson teaches, where you start with identifying where they're at now, then you identify what it is they want, what their goal is, you get really clear about what the gap is between the two, and then you identify their commitment to closing that gap before you talk about the solutions that you offer. And where this, I think, connects to a free session is if you do a free session and you get someone really clear about where they're at now, what they really want, the gap between them, and get them connected to their commitment to closing that gap, and then do just a little bit on solution. Like, don't feel like you need to solve the whole problem. Then you have someone who's really ready for coaching. So to me, it seems really relevant to how we structure our free session. If we're going to give too much in the area of solution, we shouldn't be surprised that people aren't signing up for coaching because they've already got their solution.
Yeah, it sounds similar to the whole pain island, pleasure island thing that I've used in the past as a similar idea, that when you're in that complementary, and it's funny, I literally just went in on my site while you're talking, Robert, and changed my online business card from free consultation to complimentary consultation just to get that word out of the way. Because you're right, I didn't like the way that sounded either, and it hit me that I needed to make that adjustment. But the idea is in your session, you're identifying that they're on pain. You're helping that identify what pain island they're on, what's not working, what isn't going well for them, and that they want to get to happiness island. So let's say that they are a small business and they need more customers. So they want to get to lots of customers that come in easily, but you've helped them identify that what's hurting is their marketing or their follow-up or their delivery of the product, whatever it might be, that's the pain. And you don't necessarily put them in your boat and start sailing them to the island of happiness. What you do is say, look, and here's a boat over here that can help you if you're willing to commit to putting in the effort, and then you can sell your business. So it's not putting them in the boat, it's showing them that the boat is there waiting for them if they're willing to put in the effort and ready to have that change happen. So to me, that's the point of it, isn't necessarily giving them all the solutions. You can still give them an answer, and you want them to walk away with one thing that they can do that will make a significant difference. For example, it might be, if I'm working with somebody in Google Hangouts, it's the idea of putting hashtag in the description of their Hangout so that when people search in Google, it pops up quicker and their Hangout is more noticeable, or for their event for their Hangout. Make sure the description has hashtags that are relevant to what it is, just like you would in Twitter. A lot of people don't know that when creating a Google event. That one simple tool can completely change how effectively they're seen inside, how effectively their events are seen in the world of a Google search. They walk away with something really, really valuable, but it's really a 1/100th of what I can give them of value if they get on my boat. So that's kind of my say. I think you're spot on with that, Robert, and I like that approach. So thank you for that.
Well, and I'd like to add one. I just want to add one distinction too, and for anyone else on the Hangout who wants to join Wendy and I in the Over Deliverers Club, the thing to remember is that we're cheating our clients by doing that. You know, the reality is we can't solve our clients' issues in one session. It just doesn't work that way. So if we're over delivering, we're not only not serving ourselves and building our practice, we're not serving our clients. So shame on us.
Yeah, and so I'm just going to show something really quick before, because I know, Agnesa, you wanted to share something as well. But this is my online business card, and you'll notice I have the fourth question. I asked for the first name, last name, email, and then the fourth question is, what do they hope to get out of the 30-minute consultation? Because if they come in and say right in here that I want my business completely fixed, that's an unreasonable expectation. But at least I have an idea what they think can be done in 30 minutes, so that I then can actually move forward and help them understand what is and is not realistic. So I think that's an important piece of it as well. Agnesa, I know you had something you wanted to share as well, so go ahead.
Yes, I'd just like to share some experience I have as a craniosacral therapist. And I've tried that as well when I just started off as a therapist. And then I realized that it actually doesn't work, because people who wants it for free doesn't really put the value on it. So what I've done is I've changed it that they get 5, if they buy 5 sessions, they only pay for 4. So from that perspective, it's changed my business as a therapist. And also, I don't do any free sessions anymore, not even for my family or my friends anymore, because it's that value that they actually attach to it. If you give it for free, they think, well, it's not worth it. If they go and see a doctor, they pay twice as much as what they will pay me, so they don't see it as the same value.
And I think that's true. It is a difficult thing to be able to make sure people know you, know that you have abilities, know that you have talents, and that you can assist them. But you also don't want to you don't want to undersell what your value is. That's the one thing I've taken away a lot, is that I don't have as many clients as I used to, because I dropped clients who couldn't afford what is my new rate. This is what my value is. This is my hourly value. If you can't afford that, you need to work with somebody else, because this is the value I give. So that's important to be able to know and truly know where your value is at, and honor that. And so it is. Does anybody, I want to throw it out to the group for suggestions of how to help people get to know you, your value, the benefit that you have that you can give, without necessarily having to undermine your time. Well, the first thing that just popped into my head is I've got all these Hangouts that I've facilitated for coaching, which is I can take all of this, I can build it into a page of past Hangouts or previous knowledge, and I can send folks, hey, if you want to learn more about me, check out how I work, how I coach, how I interact with folks, so that you can see if you feel we would be a good match. And that's now free, because it just takes an hour of my week every week to do these Hangouts with you guys. I can make that collection of past Hangouts all in one place. People can get a feel of who I am and what it is I have to offer, but I'm not spending any time doing that. They have to decide if I'm right or not. So that's my first thought. But I'd love to hear other ideas of how to help people get to know you and want to know, like, and trust you without you necessarily having to offer that free opportunity. And I do want to say, actually, while you guys are thinking on that, I'm going to introduce our 3 new guests. So I'm going to go left to right for me. So Dr. Allen, I'm going to let you say your introductions. I always like to let everybody introduce themselves. This is important to me. So go ahead, Dr. Allen, if you want to unmute and say hello to the world. Or not, in which case we'll go to Lori. Lori, go, oh, there he is. Go ahead, Dr. Allen.
Guys?
There we go. Now we can hear you.
I already unmuted, but it's not allowing me to...
Oops.
Okay, good deal. For some reason, I'm having a...
Oops.
right now. You can still hear me? Maybe not. Can you hear me now?
We do hear you, Dr. Allen.
Okay, guys. Sorry about that. I don't know what the deal is here. I seem to be frozen. But, and it's spring and I'm frozen. It's crazy. Anyway, I'm Dr. Alan Weinstein, and although I am late, which seems to be habitual lately, you can't see me? Sorry?
Just go ahead, Dr. Allen.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, I'm Dr. Alan Weinstein. I'm a regular here, although a late one lately because I do a hangout right before this one that always runs over. And I am a creator of the VIP app, which is the only application that allows you to bring these live hangouts to the desktop, iPhone, and iPad of those people that have you in their circles. Could I add something to the conversation, or should I wait till everyone's introduced?
Go ahead and add something, Dr. Allen, then I'll go introduce everybody, and then we'll go to what you're going to add.
Okay. When I do a consultation with somebody, my goal of the consultation is never to solve any of their problems during the consultation. My goal during the initial consultation is to give them one thing of value, and I will tell them when I start that conversation that my goal today is to make sure that I offer you one thing of value that will be worth what I'm going to charge you for my services, so that you know that I always over-deliver. And then I go about asking questions which I've talked about on this show previously. Very simple questions, 4 questions basically. First question is, of course, what are their goals or what are their challenges that they have now, and I ask them to list 5, and then I ask them to tell me what they've already done to try to solve those challenges or those problems. I ask them what they're willing to do, and then the last thing I ask is how they plan to reward themselves if they achieve the goals that we're going to set down. And then I take those 5 things of challenges and goals that they have, and I try to look at one of those things. And let's say there's someone that's doing internet marketing. I might ask them what their website is, and I'll look at their website, or I'll look at their YouTube channel, or I'll look at their Google Plus page, or something that they're already doing. Maybe they're making an ethical bribe somewhere, and I'll take a look at that, and I'll say to them, okay, this is what I'm going to tell you right now, just from what I'm seeing, that is going to be worth the price of admission to work with me. And it might be what's wrong on their website, what's wrong on any of the places I listed. And I will get them to acknowledge at that point, do you feel that you got the value out of this call that I told you that you were going to get? And from that point, if they say yes, and inevitably they do, because it's so easy to give them something of great value that could turn their business around within 5 minutes' time, because being an outsider, it's always easy to see, it's like easy to see a spelling mistake when I'm correcting someone else's paper than it is to see my own spelling mistakes when I've been reading the paper over and over and over again. So as a consequence of that, I will get them to acknowledge, yes, you gave me great value. Then it's easier for me to go to the next step on saying, okay, here's the next step of what we need to do. I always leave them with, here's the next step of what we're going to do, so they realize, and of course that step is going to include how much they're going to pay me. That's always the next step, and I will send them to a link of where that payment goes. So it's really pre-qualifying and or disqualifying, we've talked about that in the past, and literally getting them to see that in literally this consultation, I literally can give them some great value that is just indicative of the value that they're going to get going forward. As it turns out, in some cases, I will tell you that disqualifying session is disqualifying, and I tell them that based on our session, as much as I would like to be able to help them, I don't think will be a good fit. And I never hesitate to, at that session, to get rid of a client right off the bat because I know the handwriting's on the wall, as my mom used to say. The handwriting's on the wall, and if I go to the next step with them, it's not experience for them, it's not going to be a good experience for me, and ultimately the money that they pay me will never be worth the aggravation.
I think all of that makes sense, and we'll come back to some of those topics. I want to quickly have Lori and Ninka say hello. So Lori, go ahead and say hello to the world.
Hello, it's Lori from the ever hopeful city of Montreal. We're really hoping tonight. Yeah, I gotta get my plug in, okay? There we go. Anyway, I am your go-to person for all things ice skating, especially if you want to learn as a grown-up.
Excellent. Good to have you here. My Hawks finished their series last night, so I'm a happy camper. And Ninka, if you want to say hello to the world as well.
Well, hello world. This is Nienke van Bezooy from the Netherlands. I can't get up my lower third for some reason, so I do without. I'm from the Netherlands. I'm a speaker coach. I coach people who want to get their message across and serve the world for the good. I just wanted to add something to the whole conversation so far as well. What I do, I take a written or an assessment online. I send them a document what they have to fill in with a lot of questions. That's the screening for me. It's good for them to focus and see what they really want to do. And then we have this short talk, let's say half an hour if possible, to don't waste too much time. And if I see from the assessment that there isn't really a fit, I call them and said, well, I don't think I'm the right one for you. And I just again put up my yes and no card. It's a yes or a no, and that's how I shift all my customers, my family and friends, well, not really my family, but people who I want in my field and who give me energy and I can give energy to them. And the no ones are really the one who are leaning into you, the complainers, the whiners, the energy takers, the always making excuses for everything. As soon as that appears in the assessment for some kind of reason, I will name it, and not in a way I do it with you now because it's my thing, but I will name it. It can be a really good sort of shift in what I want to have in my field and also in my business. And I think. Robert is asking if there is an e-version. Yes, I can do it, but I can do it in Dutch. And what's really important to me of the yes and no card is you make up your own value, what's important for you. So it's just easy to have this yes and no circle, but it can be something different for Sean and something different for Dr. Allen, what they want to have in their field of energy and what they want to have without them. So I can just give you mine, do a quick translation, send into the group. No problem with that. But it's very important to make it yours.
And I appreciate that, and I think you're right. It'd be great to see an example of what you've created because I think that's always a good starting point for folks. And I think it's really important. We'll come back to my original question of how do you go about letting people know about you, get them to know, like, and trust you. But what came up both with Dr. Allen and with Ninka was the fact that too often when we do these free consultations or these complimentary sessions or whatever it is that they're being called, we see it as us attempting to sell them on us. But we have to remember that really that session has two purposes. One, they're deciding if we gave them quality value or not. But the other one that's often overlooked is we are actually deciding if we want them as a client or not. And it's one of the best things you can do for the success of your business is to say no to potential clients. If they are not the right fit, if they can't afford your rate, if your rate is $500 an hour and you know you deserve $500 an hour and this person says, well, I can't really afford that, but will you work with me at $150 and you want the $150 an hour because it's still income, the more you say no to things that are not in alignment with who you are and how you value yourself, the more you're going to open up and receive the things that are in alignment and are of value to you. So the more you can use that yes-no card and truly understand if somebody's a no and have the courage, because that's really what it comes down to say, you know, I don't think this is the right time for you and I to work together. The way that you speak, the way that you're approaching this just isn't in alignment with how I like to work with my folks. The 24 minutes of this 30-minute call were all very negative, very the language you use just isn't in alignment. I work with people who get that they're moving forward, and I don't get that from you.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
what I say. Did you hear yourself saying, instead of announcing it, well, it is a very negative talk, I just repeat what they're saying, and then they can hear what's really resonating. And what I learned last weekend, I was in a training about public speaking, and if you talk to larger groups, it's very important to engage the thems or yous in your speaking, instead of I like to tell you this, it's not about I, it's about them. So you talk about you, it's something for you, or all yous. But if you do it in coaching and you do this kind of assessment, the I like not is very important to, just like you said, Sean. I like to make that combination to the approach if you in the talking as well.
And sometimes that could be your one thing of value that they walk away with, is an awareness of the language they use. And even if you're not ready, they may come back and chase after you and say, oh my gosh, I never realized that. I've been working on that. Can you please, I know this is actually clearly where I need the most help. Will you work with me on that? You know what, I'll take you on. If your biggest problem is negative language, but you acknowledge that and you say that that's what you want our coaching to be, where all you do is talk about your business and I stop you and let you know when you need to adjust your language, I'd love to do that coaching with you, if that's what we commit to. But I'm not going to do coaching on your business if everything is always negative. So you have to know that distinction.
Yeah.
But it's really important to do that. I know when I had asked my question earlier about what's the best way to kind of get to be know, like, and trust, create that know, like, and trust factor, Robert had said, he had typed into the chat about speaking, and I know he does that very well and very effectively. Robert, do you want to explain a little bit about that and how that helps you find potential clients, but also find the right potential clients?
Well, I think speaking, if you are speaking to the right kind of group, you end up in the right kind of clients. But I'm also a firm believer in the fact that there really is, well, I won't be this black and white, but pretty much any speaking opportunity is a good speaking opportunity, because it's an opportunity for people to get to see you, see what you do, see how you present yourself, see what your style is, gauge your capacity, if you will. And I just think, in terms of your question about how, other than these free sessions, what's another way for people to get to know us, I am always looking for ways to get in front of a group of people. You know, it's just, you just never know who's in the audience, who's an ideal coaching client. So, you know, again, it's not 100%. I mean, I had an episode a couple weeks ago where I ended up taking a speaking engagement that I wish I had not taken, because it was a big fat waste of my time. But more frequently, I'll take something a little reluctantly that turns out to be a really good opportunity for some reason than the other way around. So speaking opportunities are almost always good.
Yeah.
What did you get out of the not very good audience for you? Because I always see that as a great learning point to shift even more, even my speaking opportunities. And last time I missed out on the call because I was doing my TED pitch, and unfortunately I wasn't chosen to be on the main big stage. I did well, but they wanted somebody from the area, so it's really connected to the real place where the TED Talk was going to take place later on this year. But I ended up with 4 marvelous network contacts working worldwide. So great speaking opportunity, a great thing how I would arrange something different. And a lot of people got to see me, just like you say, Robert, and being in front of the group, show what you are capable of, and other results will show up from it. But it has to be your cup of tea. If it's not, don't do it.
Well, and I'm a big fan of, I agree kind of with what Robert said about really any opportunity to get in front of an audience and practice your speech is a good opportunity, as long as it's not involving 7 hours of driving to speak in front of 2 people who aren't in any way related to what it is that you do. But I mean, you can usually gauge at least that there's going to be some possibility of a beneficial thing. If nothing else, it's perfecting your speech. It's getting your speech better so that when you do get in front of that ideal audience, you're going to be able to nail it that much better because you practiced it a bunch of times. So I think for me that's an important thing. And I want to throw this out and get people's thoughts. I'm thinking this can be next week's conversation of how to get in front of, how to find opportunities to get to speak. And I don't necessarily have answers for that, but I think it could be a really interesting topic to discuss. How do you guys feel?
Yeah, great. I can share some little slides from it, what I use in my coaching as well. I can make something up and show the Alex way. I have my post-it now, the right post-its.
Great.
So I can do it.
All right, then that's what we'll do. And Greg just asked a great question. Greg, if you want to, you can go ahead and ask it loud, like as yourself. Go ahead.
Is this live speaking in front of an audience, or are you talking about speaking on a Hangout, Sean?
Well, so that's, I love that question because the answer is I don't know. Both.
The answer is yes.
Yeah.
The answer is yes and yes.
Yes, and yes.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's a great question because you're right. We have to keep in mind the fact that just speaking in front of a public audience from a stage in the traditional manner doesn't necessarily equate to the best way of getting your message out or getting known. It could be that you're a guest on multiple different Hangouts and you're presenting in front of folks that way, and if you've got a good digital approach to get people to come find you, I mean, for me, I just send them, text the word automate to 96000. That's what I would tell people to do. I have to create a lower third that tells people that. But that would be, like, if I'm on any Hangout, that's what I tell. If you want to learn more about who I am, get a free ebook and all of that, text the word automate to 96000. That's my call to action anytime I'm on any Hangout where I'm representing myself and my business in this way. So I think as long as you have that, I think Hangouts can be extremely powerful, and that could be a good part of next week's topic is how to find experts who do Hangouts to be a guest on those Hangouts. I think that's spot on. I like it.
Both and the live speaking as well. And I would love to contribute with that in speaking on Hangouts, because you do quite well. But I've seen some examples from real respected people who just adopted Hangouts, and they're just off halfway their screen off like this or like this. And
I love the people who are always like, hello, hi, everybody. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No one needs to see that much about you.
Yeah, or just halfway the camera, or just looking at the laptop or whatever they're doing, but they're serving an audience all over the world. And in my webinars or Hangouts and on speaker coaching, I talk about that, how to use your voice and how to be visible on the camera as well, and make that real connection like you do on a live stage, because you have a live audience.
And this goes back to that idea of doing it as often as possible, because the reason I can do a good Hangout presentation is I've done, I don't want to know how many hundreds of Hangouts at this point. So I know how to look in the camera, I know how to can speak well, I know my lighting works well, I know that I'm probably a little lower in the image than I should be. I should be a little bit higher, but whatever, this is a relaxed environment.
You need a different color hat because your hat is just, I have to send you this funny orange cloak things around for your head. Just that's better. But just suiting your shirt as well. Nice, yes, nice.
I know, but I like this. Anyway, I know, Wendy, you've been trying to jump in and give some thoughts. I don't want to cut you off.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that's interesting, because what we were just talking about then links back to the freebie, because my freebie sessions, sorry, we're not using that word anymore, my visioning session or complimentary sessions have been on Hangouts. So I've always made sure that I look professional, that the lighting is good enough. I'm not great with lighting, but it's not too bad. That I look all right, because that's getting a message across as well. If I turned up in a very amateurish way, I'd have even less chance of getting that person over the line. And I would just like to add one little bit that also loops us way back to when we were talking about giving people awareness around negativity and things like that, if I may. It's probably the most important thing I learned when I was training to be a coach through the University of Sydney program, and it was, and this guy's guru and very clever and has PhDs in psychological stuff, I'm not sure what it's called, He modeled this. He said, for example, if you're working with a CEO or a senior executive and they're a control freak, what you can do, and I love this, you can say to this person, well, it's actually not about the need for control, is it? You just want to do a good job. So what you're doing is you're supporting them, and then you might say something like, well, tell me more about what a good job looks like, and then you can delve into basically making them gently aware that they are a control freak and turning that around. But I just think that's beautiful. Like, it's just a lovely combination of working out what is their biggest issue as you see it, and expertly guiding them to that awareness, and not putting it in their face or saying, well, you're a control freak, but slowly and gently guiding them to that. And also then you're also setting up and turning it around to a positive example. What's the positive side of a control freak? It's doing a good job.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting insight as well, because there is that aspect of when you're trying to help somebody, you're trying to give them benefit. Part of that is identifying, like Dr. Allen was saying, you're identifying something that's wrong. Either something that's wrong with their site, something that's wrong with the product they're offering, something that's wrong with their behavior, their action, how they interact with folks, all of those things. You're identifying that wrong thing, but you want to do it in a way that doesn't make them feel bad. And Dr. Allen even did that well. We was talking about, it's a lot easier to see mistakes on somebody else's than your own. You can't see the label from inside the jar kind of concept. That I always have somebody double check everything I create, because I call it development blindness, or actually I usually call it Infusionsoft blindness. When I've been working inside Infusionsoft for like 7 hours on a day and I built this really complex campaign, yeah, I'll ask another friend of mine who's an expert to go in and say, what did I mess up? Because it makes sense to me because I built it and it seems logical, but I know there's a mistake in there, so you want to have that other thing in. And they never say you're an idiot, you screwed this up. It's, hey, thanks for asking, here's the thing I've noticed. If you can do it in a positive way, if it shows that you get that this behavior, which by some is deemed as a negative trait, actually has a positive energy behind it, which is you want to have a successful business, you want this to go well, even though it's seen as you're controlling. Well, if we can find a way to support people in making sure this goes well without them feeling like you're being controlling, you've just changed their world, and that's going to make you a lot more appealing. So I think you're spot on there.
Yeah, that's right, and it's not our job to label them anyway, is it, and call them control freaks, because we're always open. Because the minute we start labeling people, and I probably shouldn't have used that term control freak, is the minute that we've become like a consultant and an advisor and not a coach, to really, be open and look at where this thing's going. But yeah.
And I think there's the term control freak. Yeah, ideally that's not what you want to label them as for you, but I bet the people who work for them have no hesitation using that phrase.
Yeah. I would say very committed or something like that. Very committed.
Well, and that's the positive spin of it, but they also need to understand that that's great. They feel like they're very committed to the success. Your staff thinks you're a control freak.
Yeah. What I do in my system about it, I have my East professional speaking system, and in my part about speaking, it's the verbal part. It's your voice, you have the visuals, and you have the verbals, and that's exactly what Wendy says, is using the right words to mirror them or to repeat their words or just make a connection with them by using the right words and make the awareness there to help them to see or not to see. If they don't see it, just leave them, but that's the shift then. But it's very helpful to do a great research on the verbal part and see how you can serve in that way and shift as well, both. Very helpful, very 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 nice thing to do. If it works, it's caviar. It's really nice.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. We're getting towards the top of the hour. I want to make sure we've got a lot of folks. We've talked about a lot of things, especially that idea of using your hangout, your introductory session, as a way of not just making sure that they want to work with you, but making sure you want to work with them. And also some techniques of how to deliver that one piece of value that is going to make that introductory session worthwhile to them, because you want them to walk away with having felt like they got your worth of value. So I'm going to just open it up one last time. We're going to just kind of go from left to right. So Alicia, get ready. You're going to be first. I'm just going to go left to right and do kind of final thoughts. I'm giving a little more time for this because I think it might take a little bit because we've got lots of folks with lots of really interesting insights. But final thoughts. What is it that you what are you taking away from today's hangout? And is there one other thing that you kind of feel like you'd like to share that maybe we haven't discussed or said? So go ahead, Alicia.
I think for me it's always about the person discovering the journey for themselves rather than guiding them. I feel like in craniosacral therapist way, I'm just a coach in the body rather than in the mind. And from that perspective, I've learned that if you hold the space in a safe environment, that they will feel comfortable to share their own thoughts. They just need a soundboard, and they will work it out for themselves.
And I think you're spot on. That idea of, that's part of the know, like, trust factor. If you're doing this introductory session with them and they realize that they can really open up to you, they feel like they can trust you and talk to you effectively, you've just really opened the door to them becoming a client because you've built that comfort zone for them where they feel safe. That's a huge point. So thanks for that, Alicia. Dr. Ellen, any last ideas, thoughts? What are you taking away from today's hangout?
Okay, I do have one more thought. I hope there's my video. I want to tell something very quickly about when you're going to go ahead and you're going to tell somebody something about their website or what they're doing because you want to give them value. And this experience comes from treating vegetative patients. You know, a lot of times when a doctor examines or treats a patient who's in a coma, they don't realize that the patient is still a lot of times able to, because they may not be able to express it, but they're literally still getting input. And as a consequence, a lot of doctors will go in there, or nurses, and they'll stab them with things, and they'll bang them, and they'll throw them around like that person's not feeling anything. And one of the things you learn, if you've ever had the experience of waking up a coma patient, is the first thing they do is they talk about this horrible experience they had of people abusing them, and no one really, without people appreciating that they're feeling things even though they're not telling you they're feeling things. And so the point I want to make is, when you're working with a client in one of these initial consultations, don't be afraid to ask permission. It's the right thing to do. So if you're going to say something about someone's website, ask them, is it okay if I tell you what I'm seeing on your website? Would you be comfortable about that? Is it okay what I'm seeing on your YouTube or Google Plus page? Asking permission is a powerful tool so that no one gets insulted about what you're about to tell them, and you sort of have made an agreement. Is it okay if I mention something what I'm seeing on your website now? If they say no, no, it's not a good thing, then don't tell them. But if they say, yeah, it's okay, they've now given you permission to go ahead, and then they take it in a much more positive light, even though it might be telling them that their website has a major problem.
Yeah, I think that's important, that getting permission, that getting they're okay, it also empowers them. It gives them that feeling of empowerment, which is also really important. Because if they feel empowered in working with you, that's going to make it a lot easier for them to want to continue to work with you. So that's spot on, too. Thanks, Dr. Allen. Greg, any last thoughts, any intakes, any insights from today?
Sean, not being in the coaching business myself, I still have to work out what I currently do, how that fits into the coaching. And as you know, I came about this through Alex, and we've come in the other side with the membership sites. So whilst I'm a little bit out on a limb here, I'm sure that I'm going to gain some knowledge where I can apply this to my existing business and get the membership sites up and running as well. So yeah, I don't have much value to contribute because I don't have the experience of the other people on the Hangout. Thank you.
No worries. And my one suggestion to you is use this as a model of an easy way to be able to develop content for your membership site, is to do a weekly hangout where you're having conversations with folks in your field of investing or in mutual funds like you were talking about, and then using that as content that you can use as an appeal. Maybe each weekly hangout live is available to the public, but if you want to see all of the past hangouts of all the other great information we've shared, that's available in the members area. So even though you're not bringing them in as coaching clients, you can definitely bring them in as members by showing them that your live weekly hangout has so much value they're going to want to pay to get to all of the previous ones as you start to build up a library. So I'm just going to throw that out as a possible suggestion for you to take away as well, Greg.
Excellent, thank you.
Welcome. All right, Lori, your chance.
Hi. Well, one thing that I realized I was doing was I was giving up too much information in my blogs. So in the past year or so, I've cut the length of them pretty much radically in half. And what I realize I have to do now, too, is give tantalizing bits of information that can only be answered if you buy my book.
Great.
Excellent. You give them just enough to make them to want to learn more so that then they have to pay to learn more. That's a great approach. Yeah. I know, especially on a blog perspective, there's one thing that people do is there's a way, especially if the blog's built into your membership site, there's a way to actually make it where you can install the little read more button, and that read more button triggers that this is only members only content. Therefore, if you want to learn more about from this blog, you've got to be going to the members area.
Oh, that's nice.
There's a way to do that, and that's kind of a next level technique. But it is something that you and I could talk about offline.
Oh, I might be talking to the help desk for that one.
No worries. So go ahead, Nika. Your thought? Any ideas?
Oh, am I already? Okay. Today I had another mentoring call, and we had it about sales techniques. And one thing they shared was a final thing that they said about getting them into paying clients, and just a sentence. Well, you can just do this payment today, and that's the least difficult part of my coaching. And from now on, we're going to work.
Excellent.
So that's what I wanted to share with the group.
I like that. Thank you for sharing that. Mr. Robert, your last thoughts today.
I think the most powerful insight for me was joining Wendy in the Over-Deliverers Club and just recognizing that I need to draw that line between feeling like I need to deliver the solution in my initial consultation, whatever I call it. So that was a great awareness for me today.
Excellent. Thank you, Robert, for being here. And Wendy, your last chance to share any thoughts.
No, I don't. I've already moved on, and I'm looking forward to next week because that's a topic that I would like to discuss more because I need to put a bomb under myself and get out there more and speak more and be more visible. So, yeah, looking forward to that one. But it was all good today too. It was all brilliant. It kind of danced around and picked up a couple of really great, powerful themes. Yeah. So thank you to all of you for your contribution.
As always, these are I say this every week, but I don't know why. I'm always amazed at how much value these things produce in 60 minutes of us just sitting here talking about certain things. But we always walk away with some really, really great wisdom, great knowledge, great stuff. For me, just getting clarity. For me, making the change on my site to go from free consultation to complimentary to me is a huge shift, and it takes away that idea that it doesn't cost. I'm giving them a gift, and then they need to step up after that. So that was my big takeaway from today for me, and taking that action to make that edit. And I appreciate all you guys being here. We're going to do the same thing next week. Next week's topic is going to be something along the lines of how to find opportunities to speak, and we'll talk about that both from the perspective of the live speaking in front of an audience live, and also the opportunity of how to get maybe onto other hangouts of other experts and be a guest, or I mean, to be honest, every one of you here had an opportunity to be on a hangout and talk about yourself, because that's how I run these hangouts. It's a good modeling if you find somebody who does hangouts this way. Be a guest, come in and join them in their hangouts. As long as it's a relevant topic, you guys can do some really cool stuff. So that's all I've got.
I will prepare something from my speaker coach perspective to contribute, and Robert, of course, can do as well. And we make it into a very valuable, shareable thing about the speaking part of the getting clients.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I appreciate everybody's contributions today. And for next week, I will create the event and send out the invite to you guys all. And have a fantastic rest of your day. Cheers, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye all.